Hey guys, welcome back for another one. If you're new here, my name's Brad. As you can see by the title in this video, I just bought the cheapest cruze diesel on Marketplace. If you guys want to see how this pans out, you need to stick around. Alright guys, so here's the car. Let's see how well this thing runs. Hopefully I can get her started enough to just drive her right on the trailer. I got parked, hard to see, but the trailer's parked over there. Let's see how she does. She is not happy. Oh. Yeah, this might be a trick, getting this on this trailer. You kind of got to be quick with the shifter. Set you guys up, maybe you can see a little better. I've got to move this seat back. This thing's just a real Jim Dandy on the inside. Let's quit that gosh-forsaken dinging. My goodness. Ding, ding, ding. Maybe neutral. Seems like it likes it better when you cycle the glow plugs. Oh, joy. Shut her the whole way down this time. That key is nice. It is hot in here. Really hot. Well, we moved a little bit. Maybe if I let it idle a second. Maybe it's a little better. I think our battery might be getting low. Alright, so this thing won't run very good. So we basically got one shot to kind of ramp this right on the trailer. So let's see how this goes. Alrighty guys, after getting her hauled home here in a very late night in the shop here, I'm not sure if you guys have already seen this project yet or not, but that's something else going on. It's getting filmed. There will be videos. There will be videos out on that, so you may see this before that. Just disregard that then. Anyhow, you see me drag this thing home. It's a pretty nice car actually. I picked this thing up pretty cheap for basically one reason. It don't run. It doesn't run at all. Yeah, so basically I picked this up as a non-running car. That's why I got it so cheap. Pretty straight car. There's no dents or dings or anything like that in it. Oh, you know what? There is a dent on the right front fender. I'm sorry. And I kind of already looked at this car, believe it or not. That's kind of how I knew about it going up for sale. So what happened is there's a little bit of a backstory to this. This car, was driven a lot. It was a younger kid. He was actually, I think, an Uber driver. So he put a lot of miles on it, which is basically what these were intended for. If I was reading the dash correctly, I think it gets like 48 miles to a gallon or 50 miles to a gallon. So they're awesome fuel efficient beasts. And they're actually a little torquey too. It's a neat little car to drive. And I've actually worked on this car multiple times in the past and fixed multiple other issues with it. He comes into where I work all the time to get service done. And just so happened that he attempted to do a timing belt himself and made an oopsie and didn't time it right. I'm not really sure where he got his information from. So, you know, I've timed one of these before. I've actually worked on one of these before, and they're not that hard, but I'm not sure how you would do it without special tools. And we're going to go through that, but basically it got towed into work. I looked at it. I put it in time. The car is in time now. It did absolutely nothing when I first got this car. I put it back in time, but the problem is the damage is already done. This is a diesel. It's definitely an interference engine. I could get it to putt on like 1 or 2 cylinders, but it is nowhere near enough to run. And for some reason, when he went to sell it, he had just put a K&N air filter on this thing. It was all right here. As you can see, it's all missing. So that means, and for whatever reason, he didn't include it. So I guess he was trying to recoup some of his money by leaving the air filter off and no mass airflow sensor. It did run a little bit better when it had a mass airflow sensor, but now it doesn't. So that's a little bit of a problem. So we'll have to source one of those. But I'm almost certain we have basically a couple dead holes here. But I think what we're going to do is pop a couple of the glow plugs out, or just pop them all out, and see what we got. See if we got any wind in any of the cylinders. Maybe try to evaluate. I have compression tools for the 6.6 Duramaxes, you know, from 2000 the whole way up. They're basically all the same. I could check compression in one of those. I'm going to see if my tool's going to work in this. If not, we can just crank it and just, you'll know if it's going to have wind or not. So let's get to it. Now I kind of jumped into this a little bit. Back here, there's 4 spots. I already disconnected them here for glow plugs. Here's one of the glow plugs here. They just stick in there. Basically how you compression test a diesel is basically through the glow plug hole, at least the GMs you do. If you're working on a Cummins, that's a whole different story. They don't have glow plugs. So a little tip for you there. I kind of got this here set up. This is my tool for the Duramax for doing a compression test. And this is my gas engine compression tester because it only goes to 300. So that's not quite enough. But I know this isn't right. It kind of just sits on there, but it's going to give us a rough idea what hole is dead, or maybe all of them. Because usually with a bent valve, it's either going to be good or nothing. Or it's going to be weird. You'll notice a difference with it. So we're not looking for a number per se. We want to see, does it have compression or no? We're not look, because this isn't going to seal against there. I'm just literally going to hold this against there and see what we come up with. If anything, this may not even work. So we're going to start with that. And then the other thing I want to show you guys, move my light over. Yeah, maybe not. I took this here is the starter relay. Now all I did was take the cover off of it. If I could find it, I'd show you. But these are just covers on here. And basically, a relay is nothing more than an electromechanical device. Being that it's mechanical, you could physically make it work. Just like that. So that's how we're going to crank this thing over, just for ease. I do that often. They also have relay buddy things I've seen before that you could actuate, or you could jump terminals 30 and 87. It also does the same thing. So let's get started. Alright guys, I'm going to try to hold this so you guys can see it. Although I'm not really going to be able to hold it very well. So we're just going to do that number and crank it and see what we come up with. Well, we had like 160. Like I said, we're leaking a lot past. This isn't an accurate pressure test, but I would say that that cylinder has some compression. Another thing we could do just to see if it has compression at all is just hold our finger over the hole and crank it. That would basically do the same thing. We may do that later if we don't find nothing or find something weird. A little more out of that one, but like I said, this isn't accurate. That had compression. That was good. And you see it pump every time. You also want to look at that. You kind of see each piston stroke as it goes up. You guys could watch that. Alright, let's go to this last one here. It's got to be this one. Either that or we got some other issue going on. Good. Let's redo that one. Something's weird. Yep. And there we go. We'll just double check ourselves. I'm just gonna stick my finger over the hole and see if I feel any wind. There ain't nothing there. Let's compare it to see what it's supposed to feel like. Oh my. Yeah, for sure. No wind on number 4. I think what we're gonna do now is let's just start ripping into this. We know we have some sort of a valve train issue here, and we got to diagnose that first. So we're gonna have to pop these injectors out, take the timing belt off. Yeah, because this is part of the valve cover, I believe. And forgive me, I've never actually worked on one of these too deeply. I've done a few odds and ends, but I've never even had injectors, valve cover off of these. So this will be learning for both me and you. So here we go. Let's dive right into this. Alrighty guys, I hope you're enjoying the video of the cheapest cruze diesel on Marketplace. Now I just got to take a second and give credit where credit's due here. The video idea that you guys are seeing right now is not entirely my idea. I planned on filming this for you guys. I still planned on buying the car, but I seen this on another channel that I watch and thought it was a super cool idea, and I really did buy this that way. So but I want to give that channel credit because I think they do an awesome job. I really appreciate everything that they do, and I just want to give them a shout out. So you guys need to go check out Matt from Diesel Creek. Go tell him Brad from Marin Repair sent you in his comments, and we'll see how big we can get this. Hopefully you guys will go over there and check him out. Alrighty, this ought to be interesting. I took the hold down off of this one. I still have these ones on. Maybe you guys can see that or not. On a regular 6.6 Duramax, you use this hold down, and then there's a tool that goes in here, and it helps you up, like, kind of pop it out like that, more or less. This doesn't have that. First off, this uses like a slide hammer technique to get out, because I looked it up, and I don't have the tool for it. So we're going to see how well these come out. I've done a lot of LML injectors on Duramaxes, actually entire fuel systems. And I just quit using the tool because I found a good trick, so we're going to see if it works. But you just give it a little twist back and forth, and usually they'll pop right out, but we'll see. Ooh. Nah, they're tight. Nah, it's pretty tight. I will say this is very, very similar to a LML injector as well. And something that I'm going to tell you guys right now before I get any further, these injectors, it matters where they go. You're going to mess it up if you don't. There's flow rates programmed into, I'm not sure on this, but on a Duramax it's in the glow plug control module and the ECM. So there's each of these has a different calculated flow, and it's by this number here. So whenever you take it out, put it in a spot so you know that it goes back here, or label them with something so you know that this is number 4, 3, 2, and 1. So don't mess that up. These are different. Not necessarily physically, but you're going to have weird running issues potentially if you put these in the wrong spots. There it is. There's one injector. This crud that's here, that's just what fell down that was sitting here. Not that big a deal, not too much to worry about, but like I said, don't mix these up, so we're going to put them in order. Alrighty guys, so I ended up taking this heat shield off. I did that off camera. It was just kind of a pain. Also got, there's a hole here. That's a NOx sensor, NOx. And then believe it or not, this is an oxygen sensor hole. This engine actually uses oxygen sensors. Only diesel engine that I know of has oxygen sensors. Very strange. And down in here, probably hard to see, my finger's touching it, that is a exhaust gas temperature sensor. And there's a few of those as well. But basically my plan right now is we got those injectors popped out of here. Let's get this valve cover off. One thing I want to show you guys, let's see, where did it go? Okay, this is what I would call the oxygen sensor, what I was calling it. I don't know if you can see that, but it is just like coked up with like oily soot. And I've torn a lot of diesel engines apart and it never looked like that. So that is quite strange. Also, the NOx sensor had the same like oily film on it. So I'm kind of curious to see what we find in this thing. It's always neat for me to, you know, find the failure. Let's see what the heck's going on making it tick in there. So let's try to find a point of failure. I'm really trying to get this valve cover off, and I feel like that's going to tell us a good bit of the story on what happened here. So let's get to it. Oh. Oh boy, just as I suspected. I'm going to graze over this once and see if you guys could pick out what's going on here. Okay, if you haven't figured it out, this isn't supposed to be broken. Neither is this one. That one seems to survive, but then we have catastrophic failure over here and over there, and I mean some of it's way over here. It must have shot over there. Interesting. Very interesting. That tells me I'm almost certain that these valves are bent. That I've seen this before, and this usually only happens when you create interference. Because, let me turn that off. Basically what happens is your piston meets your valve, and this is basically the weak point. These things are just, let me pop it off here. Oh, it's going to take the lifter too. That's an interesting setup. These things are just like pressed tin, and they're pretty weak, and obviously it's the weakest point of it. So I'm going to say that that is definitely our failure. So, yeah, that's super neat. I love finding stuff like this, even though it's on kind of my own vehicle. You know, I kind of bought it this way knowing that there's a problem. Just as a mechanic, this is always the coolest part to me, getting into the nitty-gritty. Let's see what the heck broke, especially into something I've never torn apart before. This thing is actually intriguingly put together, very tight. That valve cover gasket or cam cover is very heavy, so just something to watch out for. But yeah, this is super cool to find the issue. This explains why it didn't run. Now, you're probably wondering why we still had compression on some of these, because to me, what it looks like is we had, you know, imminent failure. This whole row is our intake. We had imminent failure on number 4 here. She's completely dead. And then this is number 3. It seems to be all intact. Nothing going on there. So these are number 4, number 3, and if you look, number 2 is still partially intact. So it may still have one operable valve. We'll see once we get the head off. So, I mean, that could have been why it was still letting air getting drawn in there. And I'm real surprised we had compression on number 1. The only thing I could figure is that we were getting one good push out of it, and that was the 180 or whatever we were getting. Because it just doesn't add up that this should be like this. So, yeah, there's not really nothing to it. And oh yeah, you know what? It just dawned on me that the whole reason that cam cover is so heavy is because it houses the camshafts. Here, I'll show you. Alrighty guys, so yeah, like I said, it literally just dawned on me. Like I said, I've never had one of these apart. This is a super rare engine. Very, very few of these sold. And this engine was only used in the Chevy Cruze, nothing else. So, this is not only a cover, but it's also the cam housing, I guess you would call it, which explains why I didn't have to take the vacuum pump off. When I looked this up, it said not to remove the vacuum pump until later on. I'm like, that doesn't add up. I mean, how are you going to get that past there? But this explains why. It's because it's all part of that cam cover, which is pretty neat. I've never seen a design like that before, so that kind of makes sense. Alrighty guys, so I'm glad you guys stuck around for the whole video. I really appreciate that. We ended up finding basically the main issue, kind of what I thought happened with this thing, but we verified that, found that we have broken rocker arms on multiple different cylinders, all on the intake side, which is interesting. It may have just been the way the engine got, you know, mistimed, I guess you would call it, or the belt broke. We're still unsure on that story. But again, so if you guys want to see more of this, we're going to fix this thing. We're going to take the head off of this. So you guys need to stick around. You need to subscribe to my channel. And like I said earlier, go subscribe to Matt's channel. His link will be in the description of my video. And you guys have a good one.